Arizona's deserts stretch forever, sand, stone, and silence broken only by the hum of cicadas. Out here, along the forgotten backroads, you don't find motels by accident. They find you. That's how I ended up here. The listing was short, night manager needed. Rural motel, steady pay, room included. I was broke, desperate, and the thought of free rent sold me faster than a paycheck. The motel sat along Highway 191, 50 miles from the nearest town. Just a squat L-shaped building, 15 rooms, paint peeling from the walls, a neon sign buzzing like it hadn't been touched since the 70s. The owner was a man named Earl. Skin like parchment, voice like gravel. He didn't shake my hand, didn't welcome me, didn't even ask about experience. He just slid a laminated sheet across the counter. "Read this," he said. "Follow it. If you don't, you won't last a week." At first, I thought it was the usual corporate checklist. Clean towels, don't smoke, keep the register balanced. But the first line made my throat go dry. Rule 1, don't rent room 6. The rule read, never rent out room 6. If someone asks, tell them it's under repair. I chuckled nervously. Plumbing issue? I asked Earl. His face stayed like stone. Worse. That night, just after midnight, headlights cut through the desert dust. A couple stumbled into the lobby, sunburned, exhausted, asking for a room. Only one was left. Room 6. I swallowed. The rule throbbed in my mind. Never rent it. But the couple begged. They'd been on the road for hours. Every other motel was full. I almost caved, almost gave them the key, when Earl's voice echoed from the office behind me. "Room 3's open." I blinked. It wasn't. I knew it wasn't. I just cleaned it. But when I checked the rack, the key to room 3 hung there, gleaming under the flicker of the fluorescent light. The couple took it and left smiling. Later, curiosity chewed me raw. I walked down the hall to room 6. The door stood open. Inside, the walls were black. Not painted, burned. The air stank of ash and something sour like rot. On the floor, half-melted suitcase sat in the corner. Inside were clothes, newer than they should have been. I locked the door and never walked past that room again. Rule 2. Never answer the back door after midnight. The motel had 2 doors to the lobby, the front glass one for guests, and a rusted steel door in the back that led out to the dumpsters in the desert. On my second night, just past 12:30 a.m., the steel door rattled. Bang, bang, bang. It was steady, deliberate, like someone knew I was standing right there. I froze, hand halfway to the knob. Then a voice came through. "Hey, buddy. Locked out. Can you let me in?" I frowned. No guest had checked out that night. The parking lot was empty except for Earl's truck. The voice tried again, louder, more desperate. "Please, it's cold out here. Just open up." I whispered the rule in my head, never answer the back door after midnight. The banging grew harder. The steel bent inward with each hit, like the hinges would snap. Then silence. I backed away, pulse hammering in my throat. When dawn came, I checked the dirt by the back lot. No footprints, just claw marks, deep, wide, dragging grooves that led into the desert scrub. Rule 3. Never let a guest stay more than 3 nights. The laminated sheet was blunt. If a guest tries to book for longer than 3 nights, refuse. If they insist, call me. On my 4th night, a businessman checked in. He was polite, quiet, and paid in cash. Room 8. At checkout, he asked for another 3 nights. Something in his smile made my skin crawl, but I nodded. 3 nights. That's all. On the 3rd night of his stay, I did rounds. The desert air was sharp, carrying the scent of creosote and dust. When I passed room 8, I froze. The blinds were drawn, but shadows moved inside, dozens of them. Figures that didn't belong to one man. Their shapes bent wrong too long, bending across the ceiling like stretched silhouettes. The next morning, I knocked. No answer. I slid the spare key into the lock. The room was spotless. Bed made. Lights off. But in the bathroom, the mirror was shattered. And scrawled across the glass in something black and sticky were 3 words. Only 3 nights. The guest never returned for his deposit. Rule 4. If you see people walking the desert at night, don't watch. By the 5th night, the desert was in my bones. Drier. Coyotes yipping in the distance. A silence so deep it pressed against her skull. That's when I noticed them. Out past the parking lot, across the scrubland, a line of figures moved. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Slowly. Silhouettes against the starlit sky, walking in perfect silence. Their shapes were wrong. Too thin. Too tall. Their movements stiff, like their joints bent backward. I wanted to turn away, but something about them dragged my eyes back every time. Then one of them stopped. Its head turned toward me, though it was half a mile away, and the others followed. Dozens of heads, all snapping toward the motel. I dove behind a desk, my chest heaving, sweat soaking my collar. I didn't move until the first smear of dawn touched the blinds. When I finally dared to look again, the desert was empty, but the sand near the parking lot was covered in tracks. Bare footprints, each one pressed deep, as though something heavy had walked on tiptoe. Rule 5. Never answer the lobby phone after 2 a.m. The lobby had one old rotary phone, dusty and beige, the kind that should have been replaced decades ago. Earl's rule about it was simple. If it rings after 2 a.m., don't answer. Ever. On the 7th night, it rang. The sound was harsh, metallic, echoing through the empty lobby. I froze, mop in hand, staring at it. It rang again, louder, and again. By the 10th ring, it felt like the whole building was vibrating with the sound. Against my better judgment, I lifted the receiver. Hello? Nothing at first, just static, sharp enough to sting my ear. Then breathing, slow, heavy. Room 6, a voice whispered. Flat, mechanical. I slammed the phone down, heart hammering. My skin prickled like ants were crawling under it. When I checked room 6 at dawn, the door was open. The bed untouched, but the mirror above the dresser had words scratched into the glass, carved deep enough to chip the frame. You shouldn't have answered. Rule 6. Don't use the ice machine after midnight. Every motel has one, those ancient groaning ice machines that sound like they're choking on gravel. Ours sat at the end of the hall, humming like a dying engine. Earl's warning about it was clear. Don't touch it after midnight. Don't even stand near it. On the 8th night, I heard it. Plunk, 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 like the machine was spitting out cubes on its own. The sound echoed down the hallway, louder than it had any right to be. Curiosity gnawed at me, so I crept closer. The machine shuddered, rattling against the wall. I spilled into the bucket tray. Only it wasn't ice. It was teeth. Dozens of them. Human molars and canines, slick with blood, clattering against each other like hailstones. The machine groaned again, coughing up more. Some were cracked. Some still had pieces of gum attached. I staggered back, choking down bile, and sprinted to the lobby. When I checked the machine at dawn, it was quiet, normal, filled with ice cubes. But when I reached into the bucket, one cube was red, a tooth frozen inside it. Rule 7, the long hallway. The motel wasn't big. 24 rooms, maybe. So the first time I walked into a hallway that didn't exist, I knew something was wrong. It happened on the 9th night. I turned the corner past room 12 and found myself staring down a corridor that stretched on forever. The walls were too narrow, the ceiling too low, and the lights flickered in a pulsing rhythm, like a heartbeat. Every instinct told me to run, but I didn't. I stepped inside. The air grew colder with each step. The wallpaper peeled in strips, curling like skin. Doors lined the hallway, each one slightly ajar. From behind them came whispers, voices overlapping, murmuring in tones that were almost familiar. "Daniel, come in." "Stay." I turned back. Only the entrance was gone. The hallway stretched both ways into infinity. Panic seized me. I bolted forward, ignoring the whispers, ignoring the shadows sliding under the doors. At last, I tripped and slammed into something solid. The front desk. The hallway was gone, but when I glanced down, my shoes were soaked. Not in water, in blood. Rule 8, don't watch the vacancy sign too long. Every motel has a glowing sign. Ours buzzed in faded neon, vacancy. It flickered at night, throwing pink light across the highway. The rule was simple, don't stare at it. On the 10th night, I forgot. I stepped outside for a smoke, leaning on the railing. My eyes drifted to the sign. It blinked the way it always did, on off. But then it changed. The letters warped, rearranging themselves until the sign didn't say vacancy anymore. It said my name, over and over. Daniel. 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 Each blink grew faster, the letters pulsing, buzzing so loud my teeth rattled. I couldn't look away. My body locked in place, like the glow had nailed me to the spot. In the glass window behind me, I saw shapes gathering in the highway. Dozens of figures, their faces blank, their bodies wrong. They weren't standing still. They were swaying, like they were waiting for me to step down. Just as my chest seized and my vision blurred, Earl yanked me inside, slamming the door. "You never watched the sign," he hissed, shaking me. "Never. It's not advertising rooms, it's calling to them. Rule 9, the desert room. Not every room in the motel is for guests." Earl told me that my first night. He said, "If you ever find yourself at the door with a desert painted on it, don't go inside. Don't even touch the knob." I didn't believe him until the 11th night. Room 6 had always been a regular door. Beige paint, brass number. But that night, when I walked past, a mural stretched across the wood. Desert. Endless dunes under a burning red sky. The doorknob pulsed warm, like a heartbeat. Against my will, my hand reached for it. The moment my skin brushed the metal, sand poured out from under the frame. Hot, dry, choking. I stumbled back as the door creaked open on its own. Beyond it wasn't a motel room. It was an actual desert. The heat slammed me in the chest, the horizon rippling. Something moved across the dunes. Tall, thin, crawling on too many legs. It turned its head and smiled. I slammed the door shut with every ounce of strength I had. The mural faded, the desert gone, but my boots were still full of sand. And they still are. Rule 10, the final night. By the 12th night, I thought I'd seen everything. The hallways, the shadows, the screams from empty rooms. None of it could break me anymore. I was wrong. The final rule sat at the bottom of the paper, written in red ink. On your last night, do not check out any guests after 3 a.m. No matter how much they beg. I thought it was the easiest one yet. Nobody's saying checked in that late anyway. At 3:17, the bell above the front desk rang. I froze. A man stood in the lobby. Pale skin. Suit too crisp, too clean. His suitcase was old leather, but it dripped water onto the carpet. His smile was too wide, stretching ear to ear. "I need a room," he whispered, voice smooth as oil. "Please, just one night." I shook my head. "We're full." The smile faltered. The air grew heavy. From the parking lot came the sound of car doors slamming, over and over, dozens at once. I looked outside. The lot was packed. Cars that hadn't been there minutes ago. Engines running, headlights blazing, and every car was full of people. Pale faces pressed against the glass, smiling, waiting. The man leaned closer. His eyes were black pits. "Let me in." The bell above the desk rang again, and again, and again. Every car horn blared, every engine roared, shaking the lobby walls. I clutched the rule sheet so hard it cut my palm. "Not after 3 a.m., I whispered. The man's smile cracked wider, splitting his cheeks. His suitcase burst open, spilling out hands, pale, writhing, clawing across the counter. I bolted for the back office and locked the door. The noise built all night, bells, horns, fists pounding every wall, until the first ray of sun touched the windows. Silence. When I finally dared to step outside, the cars were gone. The man was gone. The motel lot was empty. Only one thing remained. The guest book sat open on the front desk. Fresh ink scrawled across the page. My name, Room 0, checkout never. I still have the paper. 10 rules, written in red. Edges burned like someone tried to destroy it. I survived, if you can call this survival. The motel still stands. Guests still come. And I still hear the bell above the desk ringing some nights, even when no one's there. They warned me the rules would keep me alive. And they did. But here's the truth nobody tells you. The rules aren't just for the motel. They're for me. Because one day, when I finally break them, the motel won't be what swallows me whole. It'll be everything behind those smiling faces in the cars. So if you're ever driving down Highway 19 and you see a neon sign buzzing in the dark, letters flickering, vacancy, do yourself a favor.